So our next speaker is Rabbi Schachter. Rabbi Schachter, as has been pointed out, has been to every one. I guess it should have been a certificate for you today, Rebbe, as well. Because you have certainly been to every one of the functions that we've had. I think but one, but that's because I messed up with the Rebbets, and I apologize. The person who we look to for guidance in every way, spiritually and religiously, is Rav Schachter. And before Rabbi Matanki, Lenny Matanki, calls upon him, I want to introduce and just say a few words about Lenny Matanki. And I think before that, I want to introduce the Rebbetzin, because really Rebbetzin Shoshana Schachter has been totally involved in Mizrahi in every way in religious Zionism, and we really owe her a round of applause. Rebbetzin, thank you for everything that you do for us. So I've had the, in order to bring this to where it is today, I've worked with Lenny and Ernie now and Rabbi Reback on phone calls and Rabbi Shlush almost daily. And what I've learned is that Rabbi Matanki is probably one of the busiest national leaders in the world. He is the head of a very major congregation called KINS. He is a musmach of Skokie. He was president of the RCA. But he's really a person who gets involved in detail quickly. He's a quick learner, probably the quickest learner I've met in this business of national leadership. And he has been an extraordinary, extraordinary person to work with. And I look forward to a year where we're going to make accomplishment after accomplishment. And I know that together with the group that we have, the vice presidents and the entire group, that we're going to be able to accomplish that. With that said, Rabbi Matanki.
I have the great privilege to formally introduce Rav Schachter. There is no doubt that within our community, the world community of religious Zionism, Rav Schachter is one of the voices, one of the people who we look towards for inspiration, for guidance, but even more, to help us dream. And in that sense, there's a beautiful thought on this coming week's parashah, one that was offered by Rabbi Meir Shapiro Zatzal, the Rosh Yeshiva of Chachmei Lublin. He said that when Avram Avinu was taken outside to look at the stars, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, "Habetna hashamayim uspor hakochavim," go outside and count the stars. Im tuchal lispor otam, if you can count them, ko yeh zarecha. That's how your people, your offspring, will be. Said Rabbi Meir Shapiro, the point that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Avram Avinu was that when we go outside and we try to count the stars, we're trying to do the impossible. No one can ever count the stars. And yet, ko yeh zarecha. But that's the way the Jewish people will be. Will be people who will always strive to do what others say is impossible. Will be people who will be able to try to inspire. People who will try to work with all of their heart and all of their neshama to be able to make a difference in this world. I am not a musmach of Yeshiva University. As you heard from Marty, I'm a musmach of Beis Medrash LaTorah, commonly known as Skokie Yeshiva. But one of the great privileges that I have had over the last several years being involved in the national scene is to get to know Rav Schachter and Rebbetzin Schachter, and to be able to understand what it means to be a person who leads by trying to do the impossible, by trying to bring together people, by being a person who counts the stars, saying that no task is too large, no task is too difficult. Rav Schachter has made every one of these events of Mizrahi, and when you know what Rav Schachter's schedule is like, I don't know where he has the time, but he does it. And so it is truly one of the great privileges of the Religious Zionists of America to welcome Rav Schachter, but it's even more our great privilege to learn from Rav Schachter. And without any further ado, I introduce to all of you the Rosh Yeshiva, the Yeshiva of Yitzchak Elchanan, our own posek, Rabbi Hershel Schachter, Shlita.
Thank you very much. In the yeshiva, every Sunday morning they have a session for men that's called Kolel Yom Rishon, and they have a session for women that's called Medreshet Yom Rishon. So in the middle of last week, somehow something fell through. So the one in charge asked me to pinch hit. I should speak this morning at 9:30 for the Medreshet, for the women. So I said, what topic do you want me to give a shir on? So he says, he doesn't know. He'll tell me tomorrow. It's already Wednesday. So I come Wednesday morning, what topic? Yeah, pick whatever you want. He doesn't have any special topic. So I said, has anybody spoken, this week is Parshas Lech Lecha. Beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha, you have the mitzvah to move to Eretz Yisrael. Has anybody spoken recently about the mitzvah of Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael? So the fellow thinks, he says he doesn't remember anybody ever spoke about the mitzvah. Unbelievable. In Yeshiva University, no one ever spoke at the Midrashet Yemish about Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael. So that was the topic that I spoke about this morning. I feel terrible that there wasn't such a discussion. In this week's Edrit, Parshas Lech Lecha, the Rebbeinu Shalom tells Avraham Avinu, Kum hisalach ba'aretz la'or kol rachba ki lucha etineno, and the Gemara understands that constituted a kinyan chazaka, that the Rebbeinu Shalom told Avraham Avinu he should walk around the borders, and thereby he acquired ownership of Eretz Yisrael. The ownership of Eretz Yisrael theoretically could have been lost. We have an international principle of kibush milchama. When there's a big war and one country wins the war against another country, even if the whole war was b'yisr, even if Russia takes over an area, shalom b'shus, the din is that whatever area the conquering army wins belongs to them. The kind of the karka, the kind of the talcum, the kind of the people, they own everything. So one would have thought that at the time of Churban Bayis Rishon, when the Babylonian armies took over Eretz Yisrael, Jewish people should have lost their ownership. So the Psukim tell us, after HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham Avinu to acquire ownership by making it Kinyan Chazaka, the Rebbeinu Shalom takes a shvuah, an oath that he's going to give Eretz Yisrael to the descendants of Avraham Avinu, and he takes the shvuah to Yitzchak, and he takes the shvuah to Yankov, and it increases bris. What does he need? A bris and a shvuah. He gave him already Eretz Yisrael. So the Chazon Ish explains in his Sefer on Shvius, the bris in the shvuah means al kol panim. He quotes the Ramban in his commentary. Chumash bris means al kol panim, under all circumstances, under all conditions. The Jewish people never lost their ownership of Eretz Yisrael. I remember many years ago, Rav Goren spoke in Rav Soloveitchik Shir right after the Sinai campaign. So he gave a whole shir. The yeshiva was learning Sanhedrin then, so he gave a shir on the first Mishnah, and he was working with the assumption of Rabbi Zalman Meltzer in the Sefer Eben Ozel, that during the 70 years of Golus Baba, the Jewish people lost their ownership of Eretz Yisrael. When they came back, at the beginning of the Kufas Bayis Sheni, so the Rambam says they had to be Mekadosh Eretz Yisrael anew. The Kedusha was Batla, so they were Mekadosh Eretz Yisrael through Chazaka. What does it mean, Chazaka? So this Zalman understood, and Rav Gordon was assuming like that also, they had to make a Kinyan Chazaka, because they lost their ownership of Eretz Yisrael during the 70 years of Golus Baba. So this year was given to Rabbi Soloveitchik's students in his class. It wasn't given in front of all the students, student body. So Rabbi Soloveitchik was sitting in the back of the classroom, and he started to disagree with Rabbi Goren. It's not true. The Jewish people never lost their ownership of Eretz Yisrael, and that's not what the Rambam means with Chazal. So Rabbi Goren kept on insisting he was right. And sure, that was the end. The next day, Rabbi Soloveitchik, before he started Shir, said, what Rabbi Goren said yesterday is incorrect. No one should ever say that. The Jewish people never lost their ownership of Eretz Yisrael. And on many different occasions, Rabbi Soloveitchik used to comment that we don't have to owe a debt of gratitude to the British for giving us Eretz Yisrael. Maisa, they didn't give us. They gave us a hard time. They didn't give us Eretz Yisrael. We never lost the ownership of Eretz Yisrael. It always belonged to the Jewish people. So that's one aspect of Eretz Yisrael that we read about in this week's Parsha, that Avraham Avinu acquired ownership of Eretz Yisrael, and we never lost that kinyan. It was a bris and a shvuah. Eretz Yisrael always belonged to the Klal Yisrael. We have a minhag that when you attend the bris, you give a matana. It says in the Farshim on Shulchan Aruch. Where does this minhag stem from? From today's Sedrit. That when Sefer Matei Moshe is quoted, I think it was the Talmud of the Ramah, if I'm not mistaken. So the Matei Moshe points out that in the end of Parshas Lech Lecha, When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Avraham Avinu the mitzvah of bris milah, so he gave him a little matana. He gave him Eretz Yisrael. So too, when we attend the bris, the proper derech eretz dictates we should give a shtickle matan. You have to give the whole Medina, whole Eretz, but you have to give some matan. So at the end of the parsha, the psukim give a whole package deal. What was Yiddishkeit like in the days of Avraham Avinu? He didn't have the mitzvah of tzitzis and tefillin, Shabbos and kashrus, and Taras HaMishpacha. So what did Yiddishkeit consist of? So you look at the psukim. The psukim say Eretz Yisrael is the national homeland of the Jewish people. You have to subscribe to the fact that you have a shaykhus to Eretz Yisrael. The Avnei Nezer, the Sachet Shavuot Rebbe, has a tshuva and Chelik Eben Ezer. It's not drush. He has halacha l'maisa, tshuva halacha. He says, based on a comment of the Maharal Miprag. Maharal is always machshava, but the Avnei Nezer quotes this lahalacha. He speaks about the reform in Europe who didn't care to return. They weren't interested in going back to Eretz Yisrael. They didn't feel they had any shaykhus to Eretz Yisrael. So the Avnei Nezer writes, they're not considered a chelik of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, the mitzaref of Klal Yisrael, Kedushas Yisrael means you have a Kedusha, you're mechuyev in mitzvahs. So the Reformed Jews, even if they don't subscribe to Tzionut, they're still mechuyev in mitzvahs. They don't observe, that's their problem. But they're not considered a chelik of Eretz Yisrael because the mitzaref of Klal Yisrael is Eretz Yisrael. So when you look in the end of the parsha, Parshas Lech Lecha, this week's Sedra, the way the Gemara understands the parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Avraham Avinu the mitzvah of bris milah, and he says, Lios l'chol l'lekim u'lezarcha acharecha. The Gemara in Yevamos understands Lios l'chol l'lekim u'lezarcha acharecha, that the Jewish men should not marry nochrios, they shouldn't intermarry. One who intermarries, so the children will not be Jewish. So Lios l'chol l'lekim u'lezarcha acharecha, ensure that your children will be Jewish as well. So Avraham Avinu was instructed, what was the whole Yiddishkeit? In the days of Avraham Avinu, what did it consist of? So it consisted of the Sheva Mitzvahs ben Enerch. Okay, what else over and above Sheva Mitzvahs? The mitzvah of bris milah. Number 2, not to intermarry. Number 3, emunah, liyas l'chol l'lekim. And number 4, Eretz Yisrael. That Eretz Yisrael is mitzaref of Klal Yisrael. So it's interesting, we have a minig that all year long when we say Kriya Shema, we say Baruch Shem Kvar Malchus Al Avoid softly. On Yom Kippur, everybody screams out together, Baruch Shem Kvar Malchus Al Avoid out loud. What is this based on? So the Gemara in Pesachim has a famous Haggadah. When Yaakov Avinu was about to die, he tells his children, gather together, and I'm going to tell you what's going to be when Mashiach will come. So they all gathered together. The Shechina left him, and he didn't know what to tell the children. So he thought it must be because Shema Yesh B'nechem Psul. There must be something wrong with the children. They're not roy lekach. The children were not roy to hear. So what could be a psul? He knew all of his children had bris milah. He knew that they all subscribed to Zionism. They all wanted to go back to Eretz Yisrael. He died in Mitzrayim, but they all wanted to go, but they didn't want to stay in Mitzrayim. He knew that none of them were married to Noshim Nachrios. So what could it possibly be? Shem Yesh B'nechem Psul. So he thought maybe somebody is lacking in Amunah. So they all screamed out, Dad, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We believe in the same monotheism that you believe in. So Yaakov Avinu was so excited. That's the whole Yiddishkeit. Eretz Yisrael, not to be intermarried, bris milah, in Amunah. So he screams out, Baruch Shem Kvar Malchus Al Avoid, wonderful. So then he realized that the reason why it's Nistalka Emenu Shechina is not because Shema Yesh B'nechem Psul, but rather you're not supposed to megala the side. Whoever knows when Mashiach is coming, Achris Hayam, not supposed to reveal it to anybody else. So the Nesivos was a rabbi in a community. He used to give drushes. He published a collection of his drushes called Nachalas Yaakov. He writes, he quotes the Maharsha has this comment on the Gemara. The Gemara says, because when the children screamed out, Shema Yisrael, listen that, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we believe in monotheism. So Yaakov Avinu was so excited. So when we say Kriya Shema, we say Baruch Shem. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu to write this in the Chumash, Shema Yisrael, he told him to leave out Baruch Shem. So we don't say it out loud, so we say it softly, because since Yaakov Avinu, that was his response to Shema Yisrael, so we say Baruch Shem softly. We don't say it out loud because it's not written in the Chumash. So why do we say it softly? What is this all about? So the Nesivos quotes the Maharsha. In the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, Yiddishkeit consisted of much more than just Zionism or bris milah, not to intermarry in Amunah. That's the ganze Yiddishkeit. What about Shabbos and Kashrus and Tzitzis and Tefillah and Taras HaMishpach, everything else? So Moshe Rabbeinu was told by Kodesh Baruch Hu, don't put in Baruch Shem. We're not so excited. The Jew, all he has are these 4 mitzvahs. In the days of Moshe Rabbeinu, you're missing so much more of Yiddishkeit. But on Yom Kippur, but because Yaakov Avinu screamed out Baruch Shem, so we say softly. On Yom Kippur, we plead with our Kodesh Baruch Hu, and we say, Baruch Shalom, give us a break. Even if we're not on the Madrega that we're supposed to be on to observe all the Taryag mitzvahs, but the 4 basic mitzvahs we do observe. Intermarriage with Emunah and Bris Milah and Zionism. To give us a break on Yom Kippur, we belong to that Klal Yisrael that existed in the days of Avraham Avinu. To give us a Mechilas Avonos. It's very unfortunate that the whole matter of Eretz Yisrael is so far from so many people's consciousness. The many Orthodox Jews, many religious people, they don't even think about the Eretz Yisrael at all. They read a newspaper, they don't run to read first what's happening in Eretz Yisrael. They couldn't care less. The politics, they're not interested in. This is a terrible thing. The Abnei Nezer has another tshuva, which is very important. He quotes the Rambam in the Pirush HaMishnayos, who writes that smicha can only be conferred in Eretz Yisrael ordination of rabbis. Strictly speaking, what we have today, smicha in America, is only imitation smicha. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. The Rambam quotes the Abar Benel. The real smicha has to be conferred in Eretz Yisrael. But even today, they do confer smicha in Eretz Yisrael. It's not ish mipi ish. Moshe Rabbeinu, the people who are giving them smicha, they themselves didn't get smicha in Eretz Yisrael. So the smicha today is only imitation smicha. Why does smicha have to be conferred only in Eretz Yisrael? What is it? An agricultural mitzvah? The agricultural mitzvahs only apply in Eretz Yisrael. Why should smicha be restricted only to Eretz Yisrael? So the Abnei Nezer quotes the Pirush HaMishnayos Rambam in Maseches Bechoros, where the Rambam writes, there is a din in Horius, on Maseches Horius. There is a din if a person, let's say, is Mechal Shabbos b'Shoigeg, eats Chametz b'Pesach b'Shoigeg, so he's obligated to bring a korban chatos to get an atonement, to get a kapar. What if the Beis Nagadol made a mistake and they paskin that you're allowed to turn on lights on Shabbos? If the chief rabbinate says mutter is mutter, so everybody's turning on lights. Then a while goes by, a year or 2 or 50 years go by, and then the chief rabbinate backs out. Maybe there'll be totally different members of the chief rabbinate. Maybe they never back out. But in 50 years from now, it's going to be a totally different member of a group of 71 Talmidei Chachamim. And the Beis Nagadol backs out, and they realize that the Roiv of Klal Yisrael violated an Avera Sheyesh B'Kos because of their mistake in Psak. So instead of requiring that each and every individual person should bring a korban chatas, the Chumash says, the Beis Nagadol brings a par helam dover shel tzibur. 1 chatas, and the whole tzibur gets a kapar. So how do you calculate whether Roiv HaTzibur, that 51% of the tzibur violated Shabbos? Who's included in the Klal Yisrael? So the Gemara in Horiya says, "V'hoyroa haloch acharoiv yoshli Eretz Yisrael." Ne'elam dava me'eni hakohol, that Klal Yisrael, Ruba Kukula, Klal Yisrael violated Naver. Klal Yisrael means the Jews who live in Eretz Yisrael. The Jews who live in Chutz La'aretz are also considered a chelek of Klal Yisrael because they relate to Eretz Yisrael, because they consider Eretz Yisrael a national homeland. That's what the Abnei Nezer explained, based on his Marami Prague. But the Jews who actually live in Eretz Yisrael, they are considered the real Klal Yisrael. So that's why the Rambam quotes this Gemara in the beginning of Horius, that with respect to the institution of Par Halam Dover Shel Tzibur, you have to calculate that 51% of the Tzibur violate the Avera, so the Tzibur only counts those who actually live in Eretz Yisrael. So the Rambam says the same is true regarding Smicha. Smicha is conferred, the Tam Chacham has Smicha, he gives it to a student of his who's qualified, he gives Smicha. But it's not a private smicha. No such thing as a private smicha. He gives smicha as representing all of Klal Yisrael. So smicha can only be conferred in Eretz Yisrael, because those who live in Eretz Yisrael are considered Klal Yisrael. The Abnei Nezer quotes, there's another comment that the Rambam writes in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, that Kiddush HaChodesh can only take place in Eretz Yisrael. The Bezdin declares when Rosh Chodesh is going to be, Kiddush HaChodesh Ibra Hashanah. So the Rambam writes the same. The Bezdin doesn't do it B'Torah's Bezdin. Bezdin does B'Torah's representatives of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael are the ones who determine the Luach. So the Klal Yisrael only applies to those who actually live in Eretz Yisrael. We have to ingrain these ideas in our Talmidim. We have to tell our children, tell our Talmidim. Those who live in Eretz Yisrael are the Klal Yisrael. Those who live in Chutz La'aretz who relate to Eretz Yisrael are also second-rate citizens, second best. They mitzuref the Klal Yisrael. I think it may have been 9 years ago, Rabbi Pesach Lerner contacted me. I was in Eretz Yisrael. I don't know how he got my phone number then. So it was a Shnas HaShmita. I was there in the summertime for the NCSY learning program. And he said on Sunday he's going to have a tour to visit different farmers who this year, that Shemitah year, decided not to rely on Het HaMechira. They're going to observe the laws of Shemitah the way it says in the Chumash. Would I be interested in coming along? So it's very fascinating. I came along. A whole group of young Israel rabbis, and some not from the young Israel. It was very interesting. So after the whole tour was over, then they took us to meet Rabbi Mendelson from Komen Miyut. His father passed away already. His father, together with the Chazon Ish, were the big tumlas so many years ago, were trying to encourage the population they shouldn't rely on Het HaMechira, they should really observe Shemitah. So Rabbi Pesach Lerner is introducing everyone. He said, this is Rabbi Hershel Schachter from Yeshiva University. So this Rabbi Mendelson from Komen Miyut says, speaking in Hebrew, I think it was in Hebrew. I don't think it was in Yiddish, I think it was in Hebrew. So he says, he was just recently in America, and he was in Manhattan. He passed by Yeshiva University, the campus, and he saw that the boys go with tzitzis out, and they're carrying Sfarim. And apparently it's a different group of Talmidim. Years ago, Yeshiva University, the atmosphere was not like that. What do I attribute it to? How come there's so much more learning and so much more observance of mitzvahs? So I said to him, I knew it this would rub him the wrong way. I said, Tzionut. So he said, what do you mean Tzionut? Maza? So I told him, the parents are so hung up on Tzionut. They have to send their children to learn Eretz Yisrael. They send their children to learn. The boys and the girls send them to learn a year or 2 or 3 in Eretz Yisrael. They come back and it has a positive effect on the family, on the shul, and the whole community, and the whole modern Orthodox in America. Modern Orthodoxy, before this system was introduced, was really a very schwache level. But now, after this system was introduced, that we try to encourage all the children to go learn in Eretz Yisrael for a year or 2 or 3, this has had a tremendous effect. So this Rabbi Mendelson never heard of it. He said to me, what do you mean? You send them to Hebrew University, to Bar Ilan, to become religious? So I said, we don't send them to Hebrew University. They go to the Hesder yeshivas. He never heard of the whole system. Never heard. So I clued him in. We have to celebrate every year on Yom Ha'atzmaut. We have to celebrate. The Gemara says there's a machlokes hatanaim. What is the correct way to celebrate on Pesach and on Sukkot? So one time is of the opinion you can daven a whole day long, daven and learn. You don't have to have such elaborate meals. But on Shavuos, machlokes hatanaim. I've led the Rebbe Shul. But on Shavuos, the Gemara says hakol moedim batzeres. All the Tanaim agree on Shavuos. You have to have an elaborate meal because Yom Shenitn B'Torah, the Kovid Kabbalah Satorah, you have to have an elaborate meal. I feel that on Yehei Iyar, Yom Ha'atzmaut, I'm celebrating a Yom Kabbalah Satorah. The Hakamas HaMedida has accomplished Harbotza Satorah by all of us. It has uplifted the whole modern Orthodox movement in America. We would have been down in the dumps if not for the fact that we send our children to Eretz Yisrael, and they come back and they have a positive influence on their families, on their shuls, and on the general community. And we have to see to it that this continues. We have to see to it this system continues. But there's one thing that you have to keep in mind. The same people, I used to go to hear Rabbi Soloveitchik speak at the Mizrahi Convention. So the same families that used to go to hear Rabbi Soloveitchik at the Mizrahi Conventions years later went to the Aguda conventions. Why didn't they continue to go to the Mizrahi conventions? Because the Mizrahi didn't have big Talmid Chachamim leading them. If you just can have 1 or 2 rabbis, you're not going to be successful. We have a generation of people who learned in yeshivas, pretty learned people. They want to follow big Talmid Chachamim Rabbanim that they know of. I remember Mr. Rabbi Joe Karasik, he used to be the president of the OU for so many years. He was complaining to the OU. The OU always used to have, every year they used to have a convention on Thanksgiving weekend. And they stopped. They don't have it anymore. And the Aguda has conventions every year on Thanksgiving, and they're packed. So how come nobody comes to the OU? So Karasik been timing for years. They have to have tables, the head tables have to be, all the Rabbanim have to come to support the OU. You don't have any Rabbanim, or even if you have Rabbanim, you You don't showcase the Rabban. You don't have them in the Mizrach Band. You don't have them speak at your conventions. The Balabatim in our generation are learned people. They want to be Nimshach after the Rabban and Talmidei Chachamis. I think the Mizrahi has to, if you want to be successful in America, you want to get people to think about Eretz Yisrael. So many of their observant Jews, some of the religious, say, say, nishten linket peya. They're not thinking about Eretz Yisrael at all. Absolutely at all. If you want to, you have to get many more Talmidei Chacham, get all the Rebbes from YU, all the Rabbanim, Talmidei Chachamim, to support your organization, to attend your conventions. You should continue to have Hatzlacha for many years to come. Thank you.